Hello again, everyone, and this is another lesson in my New Testament is Fake series. This is lesson number 187. This is the New Testament is Fake series. You can find this and other lessons if you're listening to this by MP3 on the Yalak Emet channel on YouTube, or find my other lessons and teachings on Twitter and also on patreon.com. And I'm happy that you're listening to me, and I'm going to get into it another time here in this lesson, exposing the trick of Calvary, for those of you who are listening and searching, and I'm glad you've joined me today. Okay, from Isaiah chapter 65, verse 1 to 3. I am sought of them that asked not for me. I am found of them that sought me not. I said, behold me, unto a nation that was not called by my name. I have spread out my hands all the day unto a rebellious people, which walketh in a way that was not good, after their own thoughts. A people that provoketh me to anger continually to my face, that sacrificeth in gardens, and burneth incense upon altars of brick. Now you must understand that this is a serious problem for the Most High to say they're sacrificing in gardens, so that he does not have anything to do with sacrificing in gardens. So when he deals with this sacrifice of Calvary being prepared with his last prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane, it seems to me a little bit reminiscent of Genesis chapter 3 verse 21, where some teach that God did the first sacrifice in the Garden of Eden. Unto Adam also and to his wife did the Lord God make coats of skins and clothe them. It does not say that he was performing a sacrifice, but why would the Most High hate garden sacrifices and do a sacrifice in the Garden of Eden? But why would the Most High hate garden sacrifices and do a sacrifice in the Garden of Eden, when he doesn't like that kind of stuff? But look now at Isaiah 65 verse 4, after we talked about the sacrifice in gardens. Verse 4, which remaineth among the graves, and lodge in the monuments, which eat swine's flesh, and broth of abominable things is in their vessels. They sacrifice, and the sacrifice remain among the graves. When we also taught that the fulfillment of Isaiah and other prophecies is about a Messiah that went into the grave, and he remained there for supposedly 3 days and 3 nights, even though many people have a problem with those 3 days and 3 nights. So the Most High is here speaking against sacrifices that happen in gardens, and sacrifices that remain among the graves and lodge there as monuments. Just like Calvary is a monument 2,000 years later. It's a sign of what happened at Calvary 2,000 years ago, the cross. But it says here, which remain, yashab from the Hebrew, which means to dwell, remain, sit. So he remained there. He was dwelling there for 3 days and 3 nights to somehow fulfill some prophetic-like episode that went on with Jonah going in the whale's or the fish's belly for 3 days and 3 nights. For just as Jonah was there 3 days and 3 nights, even so the Son of Man will be, right, in the grave for that time. So the Most High is cursing grave doctrines. But Jesus goes down in a grave for 3 days and 3 nights. Yet he says he does what his father does. He's in sync with what his father is doing, and so on. So can you see a problem right there with Jesus? Jesus is like the prodigal son, except once you read the scriptures keenly, you understand he never came back home to truth. But instead, he pushed through his own doctrine, his own teachings, and he remained in the grave when the Most High said he does not like this grave doctrine, this grave ritual, this grave worship, a grave sacrifice. Now, continuing from Isaiah 65 and verse 4, as we take a look at it some more, which remain among the graves and lodge in the monuments. Lodge, to stop over. From that word loon, to stop over, to pass the night. So did Jesus stay there the night? He stayed 3 days and 3 nights, it said. To remain there, to abide there in the grave. So he's lodging there, even though the Most High says, you're doing any kind of lodging in the grave for religious or spiritual purposes. I'm not into that. So he's cursing that stuff through the prophet Isaiah. But Messianic believers say it was good that Jesus lodged in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights. Calvary is fake. Let's run over to Isaiah 53 and verse 9.
And he made his grave,
And he made his grave, which the Most High speaks against, with the wicked and with the rich in his death. So he went there and he made his grave there. He lodged there. He passed the night there. Did that 3 times because it's 3 nights. But the Most High says, I am not into anything like that. That's not my kind of ritual. That's not my worship system. That's not my spiritual system. To do anything with a garden, whether it's Garden of Eden or one of your other gardens you make up. I mean, Garden of Gethsemane, with drops of blood. And then after you shed more blood on Calvary, then you go down and lodge in a grave. The Most High says, that's not me. But he lodged in the monuments. In the monuments. Natsar, from the Hebrew H5341. Natsar for that word monuments. Which means to guard, to watch over, to keep, to preserve and guard. You see this? Another one of the new perspective videos here. Because now if we run here, the monuments to watch and guard, if we run over to the book of Matthew, chapter 27, verse 64 to 66, Pilate, the Roman, set a watch over Jesus. So the Most High says he's not into the grave stuff and the passing the night and lodging the night in the graves for spiritual purposes, and into setting a monument or a watch over the dead sacrifice that was slaughtered. But Jesus was slaughtered as a sacrifice because the sacrifice means to slaughter. Alright, the Zabak, H2076 from the Hebrew, right, to slaughter. But this Jesus has a whole system set up that he's going through that the Father is not in agreement with. So how can you get salvation from a Calvary that the Father is not in agreement with? He says no monument being set up either. No setting watch over the sacrifice. The Zabak, H2076 from Isaiah chapter 65 that was killed. So Matthew chapter 27 verse 64 to 66. Command therefore that the sepulchre be made sure until the 3rd day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away and say unto the people, he is risen from the dead. So the last error shall be worse than the first. Pilate said unto them, ye have a watch. In other words, they're working in the monument ritual. Go your way, make it as sure as ye can. So they went and made the sepulchre sure, sealing the stone and setting a watch. the monument ritual, as the Roman soldiers were set there to watch over Christ. But the Most High said he is not into that kind of stuff. Happy studying and searching for the truth. And thank you again for listening to another lesson. Find me right here again at the Yalak Emet channel on YouTube. Have a good evening.